In this video, we are going to go over 2 different techniques that you can use to finish off your Aurora paintings. So we are going to be looking at adding a silhouette of either some mountains or some pine trees, or if you're feeling very brave and feeling confident, then you could combine them to do this and the trees together. So again, we're going to practice this technique first. So you're going to get a scrap piece of paper, and what I'm going to be doing is giving you some India ink in class to practice with. So let's go ahead and start with the trees since I've already got 2 started on this paper. So I'll show you the process of how it starts. So I'm using a very tiny brush, and that is really important to the technique. So you're going to do a line straight down. It's okay if it wiggles a little bit. You can vary the size of the trees. If you prefer to go ahead and start by doing the lines in first, that's fine. And then what you'll do is, starting at the top, you're going to essentially think about it getting bigger at the bottom, just like as you've drawn pine trees in the past with triangles. They're more narrow at the top and they get wider at the bottom. It's the same idea here. Now, for this technique to really work, you really want to wiggle your brush around. You do not want to have really straight, clean lines. So I'm not worried too much about this right now, okay? As far as being perfectly neat. In fact, they tend to be better if they're a little wonky. So you really want to wiggle those lines back and forth. So when you have a couple of trees next to each other, they are going to essentially kind of cover parts of each other up, just like they would in real life. They would overlap a little bit. So I'm just going to continue to work on this one, wiggling my brush around. And then I'm going to go over what I don't want you to do here in a second. So I'm just wiggling this back and forth. So if you have a shaky hand, this technique should actually be better for you. Okay, so I would continue to do these the whole way down. And each one gets a little bit wider. And I'm not looking to cover up the entire space. We want to have some background showing through there. So here are some things I don't want you to do. So let's not do those techniques on this side. No bueno, as Island always says to me, no bueno. Okay, so these are our no bueno techniques. So this is what I don't want to see. Okay, this is no bueno, right? This looks much better than this. So let's stay away from that. Another thing I don't want to see is this. No bueno, okay? So let's make sure that we practice this technique. Remember, you can put the lines in first. You can also spread some of them out. So let's say we want a little tree over here that's away from the rest of the group. We can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and speed the video up. Remember, you're going to wiggle your brush. And as you come down the tree, the branches get wider and wider, but you continue to wiggle the whole way, okay? And I would encourage you to try some overlapping and then also doing some that are spaced out separately on their own, just to add some interest and variety to your artwork. Okay. So now we've learned how to do little pine trees. Okay, let's talk about how to do very simple silhouette of a mountain. Okay, so the first thing I did to do that is I used a pencil to draw it in. So you're going to grab a pencil and you're going to sketch that out first. Okay, so I've grabbed a new scrap paper to show this to you, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lightly sketch in the shape, the general shape for the mountains or hills that we're seeing. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. So once I have that general shape, I'm going to use a flat or round brush. And I want some bumps along the way, some sharp edges, because these are rocks or hills. I like to think of them as mountains, mountainous rocks, rocks with mountains. I should not talk in my videos. And I'm just going to paint that in. So when you do this, I would say you want to go about 1/3 of the way up the paper. And then you just paint that in solidly. So I practice this on scrap paper to make sure I'm happy with the technique. Okay, so there's that one. Now, the other thing I can do is I can combine techniques if you're feeling brave. So if you really wanted to and you wanted to practice and see on a scrap paper what would that look like, and you want to add, you know, a pine tree or two here and there on this, it's the same technique. You could do that. All right, that's up to you. One other thing that you can do, I have seen some artists do this where they have their skyline and they angle the trees in. So let me grab a scrap piece of paper and see if I can show you that one really quick too. Okay, so for this one, what they do is they start with a line straight up for their trees, and then as they go, they start to kind of go diagonally this way. See if I can do this really fast to give you an impression of what it would look like. Okay, so as you see, it kind of gives that impression of it's curving up at the sides. So if you wanted to approach it that way, you can. If you want to do a few clusters of trees at the bottom, you can do that. If you want to combine the techniques and do something like this, you could. Or if you want to just stick with this, that's fine too. So you think about what you want to try. Maybe you want to try all 3 different techniques on your 3 different papers. That's fine. But now you have the tools and you can practice this before you go ahead and do it on your final paper.